Known in the headlines as the cheapest city in Asia and even in the world, Da Nang, Vietnam has attracted a lot more expats and digital nomads seeking a better life abroad in the last couple years. I was one of them back in 2023. While the headlines are still buzzing with reasons to visit Da Nang, the narrative on the ground has shifted. It's gotten to the point that many locals and longtime expats are starting to compare Da Nang to notorious party island Bali, Indonesia, with comments like it's turning into another Bali, and Da Nang is much worse than Bali. Bali is the poster child for a beautiful place that becomes less livable for some locals and loses cultural authenticity, as it increasingly caters to the needs of wealthier, sometimes misbehaving foreigners, who some even call modern-day colonizers. But all this also means the city's grand plan all along is working. Plus, many locals in Da Nang are cheering on the transformation. More on that later.
Most of my clients and friends are foreigners. I think that is good for Da Nang city. I think it's good, everything perfect for now. Everything perfect for me because they help me a lot.
In this video, I'm gonna break down the top 4 ways Da Nang now resembles Bali, and whether or not that's a bad thing. This is a story about ambition, growth, and popularity without compromising identity, heritage, and values. Before we continue, hit that like button and subscribe. It would really support me in making more videos like this. This is the An Thuong neighborhood, the epicenter for foreign visitors in Da Nang, where Western and other ethnic restaurants greatly outnumber Vietnamese eateries, and trendy cafes are full of digital nomads, which this person complained about on Facebook, saying, "Is it acceptable for digital nomads to hoard all the available seats in a cafe where people eat actual food and drink actual drinks?" In An Thuong, you can take breaks from work and walk across the street to the beautiful My Khe beach, and let loose at night when the streets come alive with lights and music. In 2023, I spent 1 week in Da Nang and 4 months in Bali during a 1.5-year trip around the world. An Thuong reminds me a lot of what makes Bali such an inviting destination for people around the world. You can parachute in and feel right at home in this global village where everyone speaks English. It feels exotic but familiar. But for many people like me, the biggest difference from home is now you can live like a queen, because your dollar stretches so much further. I could never afford to consume this caliber of food, lattes, and cocktails in such hip, trendy establishments every day in my hometown of Los Angeles, California. But I can in Da Nang and Bali, where food and beverage is at least 3 times cheaper. Da Nang is now competing with Bali as a digital nomad destination and appealing to a similar wanderlusty crowd, searching for the same comforts. Some of the most popular cafes in An Thuong even look very similar to popular cafes in Bali, with the same beachy chic elements. So I was thinking, wow, like maybe An Thuong is like this digital nomad heaven.
It is. Yeah. I mean, if you can earn that much, you don't care much of the crowd, and you don't care much of the culture.
They say that Da Nang is becoming the new Bali.
So if they talk about the tourist area in An Thuong, it definitely is.
But following Bali's playbook brings with it similar consequences that have long plagued the island nation. An Thuong and the larger beach area is a world that feels increasingly unfamiliar and inaccessible to a lot of locals and longtime expats, culturally and financially.
I was there just 3 days ago. But then we couldn't stand it because it's just too noisy, people partying. So yeah, and then they sing karaoke on the street as well. So now city center become like a theme park to me. And also the area over there for tourists is also like a theme park, you know, like you pay a lot, you spend short time there. And I don't think it is something bad. I mean, sometimes I'm also excited to try exotic food. So the other day I tried Uzbekistan, is that? Uzbekistan food, yes.
We have a Western street and I'm upset about it because most restaurant, bar, pub owner are Western people, not Vietnamese people. We are just worker for them on the most traffic street in Da Nang.
Owner's from USA. Do you know what state he's from?
An Thuong is now the epicenter of gentrification in Da Nang. As more foreigners move in and settle in the area, the rising cost of rent is pushing many locals and longtime expats further away from the beach.
A lot of local people just leave the tourist area to live because it's too expensive.
That has created a ripple effect of rent increases through the city. We'll get more into that later. Da Nang only has a population of less than 1.5 million people, but the city welcomed more than 4 million foreign visitors in 2024, an increase of 36% from the year before, and nearly 1.3 million foreign visitors in just the first 3 months of 2025, up 42% from a year before. The number of foreign visitors is growing a lot faster than the number of domestic visitors. Da Nang received 31% more domestic visitors in 2024 from the year before, and just 3% more in the first quarter of 2025, compared to 1 year earlier. In international media, Da Nang is still very much in the middle of a massive hype cycle.
I thought I would never want to go back to Da Nang, but it's really, really nice. It changed so much, and now I love it so much.
But the narrative on the ground has shifted. Heated conversations are now happening among locals and expats in private Facebook groups about how the Great Migration to Da Nang is starting to affect them in a negative way. Whether it's keeping up with the surging cost of rent or feeling disrespected by foreigners who dine shirtless at restaurants. With comments like these: "Foreigners have ruined Bali and parts of Thailand. Now Da Nang is next." If this continues, we risk ending up in a situation similar to some islands like Koh Phi Phi in Thailand, where prices have become so outrageous that only tourists and expats can afford housing. Meanwhile, locals are forced to live on another island and take a boat every day just to get to work. People can get really fired up and emotional over these discussions because they're sometimes fueled by feelings of helplessness or even exploitation by a more powerful group of people. In this case, it's digital nomads and expats from wealthier countries. After Bali, Lisbon, and Mexico City, Da Nang is now the latest battleground city over whether digital nomads are global citizens or modern-day colonizers. By colonizer, I mean a foreign power who comes in and benefits from the local community without contributing proportionately to the overall detriment of the local people through things like gentrification and displacement, cultural erasure, environmental degradation, and overstraining infrastructure. Any mass migration creates winners and losers among the local population. Foreigners become the enemy when there are only a select few winners and everyone else is worse off. Let's break down who's winning and losing so far in Da Nang because of the foreign influx. So far in Da Nang, there are plenty of winners. Tourism alone brought in $1.2 billion in revenue in 2024, making up about 20% of the economy. That helped the city grow its GDP 7.5% last year, triple the rate of US GDP growth in the same period. In the first quarter of 2025, Da Nang's GDP grew nearly 11.5%, and many locals are feeling a difference in their lives.
But my friends, they are working on food and beverage service and rental market. Their revenue is spike up increase really fast, about 50% in revenue within 1 year.
So you are able to afford a more expensive apartment because your business has gotten better. That's amazing.
Yeah, amazing for me, amazing for me.
According to the World Bank, Da Nang's economy depends more on tourism than many other cities in Vietnam, which is partially why its GDP contracted nearly 10% in 2020 during pandemic border closures. During that time, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City still managed to grow their economies, with Hanoi's focus on the country's political and administrative activities, and Ho Chi Minh City being Vietnam's business capital.
I watched people just get ravaged here during COVID. The businesses were just falling right and left. They were closing, hotels were closing, all the restaurants had to close.
I need to go down from 8 million to 3 million a month. I need to go down 50% the price. That's why my business is bankrupt. We don't have enough money to pay to the bank.
Locals tell me that the pandemic turned Da Nang, especially An Thuong, into a ghost town full of permanently shuttered businesses. But in 2020, Da Nang began to carry out its grand plan to attract more international visitors than ever and rev up the economy post-pandemic. Many people like to say that foreigners ruined places like Da Nang and Bali. But what those comments miss is that these people came because they were intentionally courted for economic reasons. Here's how. In 2020 and 2021, Da Nang invested a couple $1 million into making the An Thuong area more attractive for visitors. The city upgraded infrastructure, including roads and pavement, green spaces, power and lighting, drainage, surveillance cameras, and Wi-Fi. The city officially designated this area the An Thuong Tourist Streets in 2022. That investment has clearly paid off. And An Thuong is only a small part of the city's tourism ambitions. According to the Da Nang Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, the city aims to have tourist attractions on par with Bangkok, Singapore, and Dubai. This 2023 document says the city is entering its second infrastructure revolution with a comprehensive upgrade of tourism experiences. That includes developing more resorts, international event centers, nightlife, year-round events and festivals, and opportunities to explore nature and indigenous culture. And Da Nang is being more ambitious about attracting foreign rather than domestic travelers to its shores. It aims to attract 17% more foreign citizens in 2025 than the year before, and 10% more visitors in total, or about 12 million people. Da Nang is already a popular destination for people from Russia, China, Korea, and India. The city wants to attract more visitors from the US, Australia, Northern Europe, the Middle East, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan, according to the Da Nang Department of Tourism. The city has taken measures in 2025, such as hosting its first food tour festival and even a 2-week digital nomad festival to celebrate the quote-unquote vibrant nomadic lifestyle. All of which to say, the gentrification happening in Da Nang is likely only just beginning. The people who are struggling the most are the ones who are now paying higher prices, who aren't making more money from the tourist and expat boom. One Vietnamese woman posted on Facebook, "Rental prices have been skyrocketing. I'm currently paying about $200 per month for a place that isn't even in great condition. Now they're kicking everyone out and raising the rent to about $295. Keep in mind, locals in Da Nang only earn on average around $300 per month. Another Da Nang resident commented on my previous YouTube video. My childhood friends had to move away from the now expensive tourist center, even though they earn good incomes. One of them, the top student in my class with the highest graduation score, is working for a Japanese tech company. A lot of locals and longtime expats are getting priced out of coastal areas and the city center, and they're venting their frustrations online. Some even want the government to step in to regulate the housing market. Many locals who own properties near the beach have moved further inland and chosen to rent out their home or sell for a handsome profit.
They're gonna sell their house with large money, then move far away the tourist area, buy a new house with low price. Yeah, they're gonna save a lot of money. Then they're gonna use that money to living a better life.
As people move further out, it's created a ripple effect of rent increases through the city.
So we are moving further away, right? So now the value also increasing as just a follow-up. They may increase the rent 10% each year, like they just decided it.
It's like a domino effect.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Da Nang rose to fame in the last few years as the cheapest city in Southeast Asia. But that certainly isn't true anymore. Da Nang now costs about 75% of what Bali costs, when it used to be less than half back in 2023, during my travels through 8 countries in Southeast Asia. In all the major tourist destinations of Southeast Asia, including Bali, I was paying $20 to $30 per night for comfortable mid-range hotels. In Da Nang, I got the same quality hotel room 1 block from the beach for $9 per night through Booking.com. And there were a lot to choose from at that price point in May 2023, right around high season. Those same hotels on Booking.com cost $12 to $30 per night or more for the same time period in 2025. For example, this highly rated place by the beach cost $17 to $20 per night in mid-May. As for longer-term housing, there is no shortage of expats showing off their cheap luxury apartments on YouTube.
2-bedroom apartment with an incredible view, also a restaurant, rooftop bar with a pool and a huge gym.
After a 20 to 30% price increase since 2023, here's what rents now cost on average in early 2025, in areas popular with foreigners, mostly concentrated along the beach. According to local real estate agents and landlords I spoke to, rents for apartments with ocean views have surged even more, as much as 50%.
Landlords are asking for much more money than what I've ever seen prices go for in Da Nang.
This is happening due to increased demand, landlords wanting to recoup some of their losses from the pandemic, and expats who don't know the market rates overpaying for their apartments.
These new Westerners that maybe have never been to Da Nang, maybe never negotiated, maybe they have a lot of money, maybe they live in the USA and they're using an unfair logic to say, hey, in the USA, this place would be $2,000 a month. Sure, no problem, I'll pay $1,000.
Foreigners can do their part to avoid overpaying and increasing the base price that landlords are willing to accept. If you're moving to Da Nang, start by booking a hotel, come view apartments in person, and then negotiate. You can learn the market rates by looking for rentals posted in Da Nang expat Facebook groups, which is also one of the best ways to find housing. Luckily, housing prices may come down or at least hold steady in the near future, since thousands more apartments are set to hit the market in the next couple years. Around 260 of those will belong to the ultra-luxury tower Nobu Residences, which is currently under construction, and the first Nobu Residences in Southeast Asia. Yes, same parent company as Nobu Restaurants.
We need more people come here. I think in rental market, we gonna oversupply within 2 years. They are building really fast, really fast.
Now that Da Nang has rolled out the red carpet, it's up to foreigners moving in to do their part in respecting and giving back to the local community. Some locals and longtime expats are struggling with the higher cost of living and disruptions to their way of life by foreigners behaving recklessly or disrespectfully. Remind you of Bali? That has bred resentment and led to a new phrase coined for foreigners drawn to Da Nang by promises of how cheap it is. Losers back home, which was explained in a comment on my previous YouTube video about Da Nang. Someone wrote, in terms of expats, Vietnam has a way of drawing the lower end of society from Western countries. The locals call them losers back home. I mean, why would anyone that's successful in a developed first world country give up their career and move to a developing country?
I think it's funny because I mean, my whole thing is that I think that's absolutely true. It's terrible to live back home. There's a cost of living crisis back home. And if you move here, you can have a better life, you can have more money, you can have a better house, and you will be higher in social stature. So
wait, so you're like owning it?
100%, yeah.
Wait,
I think
you're like I am a loser back home.
Well, I just think it's funny. Like it's a small-minded thing, right? Like I mean, the shirt says "you jealous" underneath.
Canadian expat Evan Jordan just launched a clothing line with a shirt that says "Loser back home."
When I lived in Canada, I had 3 jobs. I was a school teacher, I worked at a bar, and I sometimes even did food delivery on the side. I also like rented out a room, like subletted a room in my house on short-term Airbnb. Like all this was to make extra money because my quality of life in Toronto is really mediocre, making like $80,000 or $100,000 a year.
But losers back home is an insult mostly aimed at those seen as opportunists, who are benefiting from the local community without showing due respect. Here are a few examples how.
More people, more problems. First, traffic. Some expats ride a bike really crazy and badly. I don't want to talk dirty words, but like an asshole. They cause a lot of accidents.
Then there are some foreigners who eat shirtless in restaurants. The moment I knew Da Nang is starting to resemble Bali is when I read a heated debate on Facebook over whether or not that's inappropriate in Da Nang. One expat wrote, "Am I the only one who thinks it's crap that there are guys who think it's cool to sit topless in a restaurant? Even if some have a nice, well-trained body and therefore think they're the greatest, it's absolutely uncool. In Vietnam, it's generally not common or socially acceptable to sit topless in a restaurant." To which someone else responded, "I lived in Vietnam 9 years. I see shirtless Vietnamese guys all the time. It's not against Vietnamese culture or tradition. This post just sounds too much like another entitled foreigner complaining." To which another expat responded, "A lovely city spoiled by morons. That said, many of the locals have the charisma of a yeast infection too. A lot of vicious culture war-like debates have erupted in online forums about Da Nang. While it's up to the city to craft housing policy that balances the interests of locals and foreigners, there are things that new residents and visitors can do to prevent the divisiveness from reaching Bali levels. I talked to locals and expats for several ideas on ways that foreigners can immerse themselves and give back to the local community. Here's how to not be just a loser back home. As a consumer, it can mean buying from locally owned businesses and maybe not bargaining down to the absolute cheapest that you can buy something for. As an entrepreneur, it could mean forming joint ventures with locals.
I want the Western people, expats community, gonna open up their business for Vietnamese people to join, to be partnership with them. Not many people want to be partner. Not many expats gonna reply my asking.
Like the first thing you have to do is learn the language. I mean, if you want to be respectful of a culture and be immersed in a culture, you have to learn Tiếng Việt.
For instance, the fellow I told you about, he regularly once a week sponsors an English exchange club for free. I would love to see more American citizens come here and actively seeking out ways to reach out to the victims of Agent Orange. There is a Agent Orange, actually two of them here, Agent Orange daycare centers here in the Da Nang area, where you see some heartbreaking birth defects. Saving up your recycling, instead of just putting your recycling out for the regular trash pickup, but saving it for one of these older ladies who comes through the neighborhood and picks up every day, and maybe giving them a small tip. If you're in a neighborhood here and you give 1 million Vietnam dong, which is $40, to a local Feed the Poor movement, that's going to be more than any of your Vietnamese neighbors are able to give. There are some expats who get involved in beach cleanup in the Mike Beach area.
If you have any other ideas, drop them in the comments below. Up to this point, many agree that the influx of foreigners has overall made Da Nang a better place. The economy is on a sugar rush, powering the city through an exhilarating transformation. Da Nang is a rising star of Asia. Once that growth has matured, the problems could become louder and start dominating the media narrative instead of hype. That could compel the city to intervene. We've seen that play out in places like Bali, Lisbon, and Mexico City, which have taken measures to rein things in. For example, in February 2024, Bali introduced a one-time tourist tax of about $9 per person, which helps to fund environmental preservation and Balinese culture and arts. The island is even considering a much more expensive daily tourist tax, similar to the $100 daily sustainable development fee that the country of Bhutan charges most international visitors. It's one strategy to reduce mass low-cost tourism and promote higher quality sustainable tourism. Balancing explosive growth and international stardom with protecting one's unique identity, values, and heritage is a tricky thing Da Nang will have to figure out. If you liked this video, you might like my other video about why Da Nang is suddenly drawing so many foreigners from the West, how the city is changing for the better and worse in 2025, and whether it's right for you for a short or longer trip, if at all.